Welcome to the Spiritual Deep Dive in 5 podcast. So glad you could join us to spend some time reflecting on God and His love for each of us today. Make sure to like this video, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell. That way you'll never miss out on any of our content. The Spiritual Deep Dive podcast is posted Monday through Friday by Christ Church of Flagstaff here in Flagstaff, Arizona. And you can find more information about our church online at ccof.church. Thank you so much for watching, and we are so excited to see what God is going to do in your life because you are committed to spending time with Him.
Hi, this is Kevin, and this is your Deep Dive in 5. I want to share another verse of mine that I've really clinged to over the years. It's 2 Corinthians 5:17, and it says this: "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the creation has come. The old is gone and the new is here." All of this is from God. I want to tell you a story about something that I got to be a part of over 20 years ago in a church in the Midwest, a small country church. And this story impacts me still today. Years ago, during one of our church services, a man named Truman came forward during the altar call at the end of the service, and he wanted to be baptized. And our church was one of those churches that when you do the baptism at the end of service, the church sings about 10 hymns and waits for that person to get changed and make sure everything's get ready to go. And I just happened to be backstage as he was changing. I was going to have the privilege of baptizing Truman. And Truman was probably a middle-aged guy. And one of the customs of that area is that anyone who's baptized gets to wear the white short-sleeved robe. I don't know if that made you more holier or that you were being like Jesus. I have no idea, but that was what you did. And so he's changing and I'm waiting, and he comes out of the changing room, and this man had lived life, and he had probably a pretty sordid past, and but you could tell he was so embarrassed by these short sleeves. I've never seen him in short sleeves before. He always wore long sleeves, and you could see the tattoos that were all over his arms, and he was kind of holding them and hiding them. And I asked him, I go, "Are you okay, Truman?" And he goes, "I don't know if I can go. I don't know if I can do this in front of the whole church. These tattoos I'm just ashamed of what they are." And he would point to one and say, "This is what happened what was happening in my life when I got this tattoo. And it's never been a good story." And then he looked at another one and talked about some bad things that had happened in his life that was associated with that tattoo. And anyways, he was truly embarrassed by what he was about to show the whole church. As we were standing there, he just described all these things. And I said, "Truman, these tattoos, they really do just represent your past. And what you're about to do in your baptism is that all of this, Jesus is going to cover your tattoos, what they mean. And you don't have to be embarrassed anymore. God's forgiveness covers you and your past." And about the time where I think I've got him convinced, I can tell he's not. I'm not sure he's going to go for it because he's still so overwhelmed with his embarrassment. And finally, I could only do the one thing I had left in my arsenal as a youth pastor was I reached down and grabbed my pant legs and lifted them up, and I showed him my tattoos. I have a tattoo of a cross on one ankle and a tattoo of a ichthus fish. And he looked at those tattoos and started laughing. He goes, "Those are the weakest tattoos I've ever seen in my life." And I go, "I agree." And he goes, "All right, let's go do this." Anyways, I love telling that story because it's just a great demonstration that there's always things that have gone on in our past. And sometimes we've commemorated good things and we will put a tattoo on, or maybe it's more of a story. And I realize more about tattoos and why people do tattoos like that because it's a story of their life. But I want you to know also that you and I, no matter what has happened in our past, what has happened to us, or what we've done to others, doesn't have to be what defines us. In fact, I've done things in my life that I'm not proud of, and I'm sure you have too. But we often buy into the lie that we can never change, that we can never live, and that our sin is always present, and that our mistakes will never be able to run from. It's not true. Maybe we feel that these things have defined us, that, and we can't have freedom, but we can. Maybe we need to reframe our circumstances. And that's what this verse is all about. Okay? Because we need to reframe our circumstances. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the creation has come. The old is gone and the new is here. All of this is from God. Well, I want to tell you the final part of Truman's story. I got to watch him grow in his faith, and he would come to church regularly, and he would wear short sleeve shirts. And I can't remember if it was 6 months or a year later. One day he came to church and he said, "Kevin, I want to talk to you privately." And so we found an unused Sunday school room, and he begins to take his shirt off, and I'm kind of not sure what this is all about. And he goes, "I got one last tattoo." And he took his shirt off and turned around, and there I'm staring at his back. And there was this beautiful wooden cross that arched his shoulders and his spine. And it was the last tattoo, he says, I'm ever going to get, because it was because of the cross that has not defined my past, but has defined my future. And it was the most beautiful experience that I've ever got to experience, with somebody showing me his tattoos. He was telling his story wasn't finished. And if you are in your life looking at things that you're struggling and you're going, I can't get over this, the cross is the one thing that covers your sin and sets you free.